All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rechak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops at Great Millstone. I'm your brother, Rabbi Knapp, coming out with a lesson. Lord's will, this is edifying to the Lord's elect. I found this on AlJazeera.com. It says, Iran to halt strikes on neighbors unless attacks from their possession, whatever the hell that is. Let's look, where is this? Possession. I believe this is in Tehran. Let's see, it was Pezeshkian. Masoud Pezeshkian is the ninth and current president of Iran, serving since July 2024. A cardiac surgeon by profession, he previously served as Iran's Minister of Health and Medical Education. So this is his, I didn't know they had a president. Arab states in the Gulf and beyond that house U.S. assets have been targeted in Iranian retaliatory strikes in the war. All right. Iran's president, Pezeshkian, said neighboring countries will no longer be targeted unless an attack originates from there, as the war launched by the United States and Israel, which triggered sustained retaliation from Tehran across the Gulf and beyond, enters its second week. So they're pretty much saying, you don't attack me and I won't attack you. All right. But yet, it's still going down. Let me grab this precept in second Edges 15. Because he already attacked everybody, but now he's like, only attacked you because you had those American forces there. Now he's saying, all right, I won't attack you, and you attack me first, then I'm going to attack you. So there's like some form of respect there because, those are other Muslim states. I think it's second Edges 15 and 40. It says, the great and mighty cloud shall be lifted up full of wrath, and the star that they may make all the earth afraid, and them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place a horrible star. Now this is talking about the destruction, but I was thinking something else. It's somewhere in second Edges 15. I can't think of it, but pretty much that's not what I'm looking for. I guess I can start up a little bit. Second Edges 15, in verse 28, behold, a horrible vision in the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. So when you get these dragons of Arabia, which are these Muslim countries coming together, that's a horrible vision. Okay, now this is somewhat the start of that. By him saying, listen, you don't attack me, I won't attack you. That benefits them. They got to start thinking. When I attacked you, my missiles struck you. And what did Babylon do? Did they call South Korea to get his THAAD systems and bring it over to your countries to make sure you were good? Or did they just allow you to get attacked? But he wants to grab all these THAAD systems from these different countries. He wants to call Ukraine. How can we do something about these Ukrainian drones? But he want to protect Israel. So these other nations are seeing like, this is probably not in our best interest to go against our neighbor. Meanwhile, President Duck threatened to escalate the bombing of Iran on Saturday. So he's threatening to escalate. They're de-escalating with the other nations around it. Now they're seeing it's all falling on the Duck. Today, Iran will be hit very hard, Duck posted on his true social media platform, characterizing the conciliatory message as Iran's president having surrendered to its Gulf neighbors. Yeah, that's all I kept hearing. You got to have an unconditional surrender. But it don't look like that's the case. Under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death because of Iran's bad behavior are areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment in time, he added without elaborating. So, this is like day 8, and they're still talking from a position of power. All right, doesn't sound like they're surrendering. They're saying, "Don't attack us. We won't attack you." They've been getting bombed every single day, and the president's saying he ain't gonna stop. Pete Hegseth says he's gonna continue. So it sounds like it's just continue to escalate, but they ain't really getting anywhere because if he can still strike, that's not good. You spend all this money. He said he can go for a whole month. It's only been 8 days, so you got what, 22 more days of doing this, and then what? We'll see what the battlefield looks like then. If they can withstand the first wave of destruction, who knows? Then we'll see what it looks like a month from now. It might look like shit, but then when you're hearing a lot of rumors about boots on the ground and things like that. So we'll see. It says Duck claimed on Saturday the U.S. knocked out 42 Iranian warships in 3 days. An Iranian army spokesman said enemy ships entering the Gulf would end up at the bottom of the sea. Pezeshkian said the Iranian Interim Leadership Council approved the motion to stop attacks on neighboring nations. In remarks carried by Iranian media, the president also apologized to neighboring countries for the strikes that took place in recent days. So it's apologizing. So that there's probably going to be some sympathy from these other nations too towards them because they've been neighbors for a long time. Then you got a world leader from a whole different, an alien nation coming and invading you. Just like was that President Nixon, I believe? He said if there was an enemy force that came together, and wouldn't we? Let me see if I can grab that. President Nixon's quote about an alien invasion. A frequently cited, albeit unverified quote attributed to Richard Nixon regarding extraterrestrial life is, "I'm not at liberty to discuss the government's knowledge of extraterrestrial UFOs." That's not what I'm looking for. It might not be Nixon. Which president had the quote where he said if an alien invasion came that the nations would work together to subdue it? Ronald Reagan, made this statement, famously noting that an alien threat from outside our world would instantly unite nations during a speech at the United Nations in 1987. Reagan often pondered how quickly global differences would vanish if humanity faced an outside threat, even discussing a hypothetical alien invasion with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. So, now this is Esau talking from an American standpoint, because this is exactly what's going to happen when the Lord comes. These different nations are going to fight up against them. Going into second Esdras, the 13th chapter. I guess I'll just read it real quick. But same thing with going over there to someone else's land. You're basically invading them. So the same thing, that's what second Esdras, the 15th chapter is going into in second Esdras 15 verse 28. These dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. So this is the horrible vision Esdras is seeing from the east. Also the Carmanians, which are the Iranians, raging in wrath. So that's the dragons of Arabia, and that's the Persians, the Carmanians, working together. Raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So, that's talking about America. So I do think they're going to have nuclear capability, because Assyria is associated with Babylon. Second Esdras 13:1, and it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea that moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. This is Yahushua and the chariots coming save his elect and to judge the world. Ultimately, Babylon's going to be judged. And all these nations are going to work together and come to fight against him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, or they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. So when he's speaking, that's those laser beams coming out the chariots. Okay, he gonna burn you with it. All right. So that's the tech that's coming from the Lord. 2nd Esdras 13, verse 5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number. So this multitude of men out of number are these different nations from the four winds of the earth, or four winds of the heaven. So the four winds represent the north, south, east, and west. All right. All these different superpowers and other, they call them mountains and hills. The mountains are the bigger governments and the hills are the smaller governments, to subdue the man that came out of the sea, which is symbolic of Yahweh Shai. Right, he's going to be split in the sky, but this is just a vision of what's to come. Okay. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. So this massive chariot, okay, is the chariots of Israel, or what the world will call the UFO. You know, the best vision I can think of is the Independence Day. This chariot covered the whole, you couldn't see where it started or where it began. That's what the Lord is coming in, to save and redeem his elect and to bring judgment upon the whole world. Okay. 2nd Esdras 13 and verse 7, but I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. So they were afraid to fight him, but then they still continue to do it anyways. All right. So the Lord got the spirit on them to make them fight anyways. They were, even though they were afraid of the Lord. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And that's talking about the thermonuclear missiles and the laser beams from the chariots. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire and the flaming breath, the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. So Ezra's letting you know that when the Lord comes, but I'm only bringing it out to show you the same thing with these other nations. You go on over there and invading them with a multitude of nations, and then what do you think's going to happen? They're going to come together and fight against you. And that's pretty much what's going to happen. But it's all, getting up to the point where they all going to fight up against the Lord. And before the Third World War really kick off, you got the MOTB. All right. So when it really gets hot, the Lord's coming in the midst of all the heat. He tells you in the book of, I think he said, will the fire be kindled? I forgot where it's at. I think it's Luke, but yeah, Luke 12, verse 49. I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? Let's look this up. This verse is part of a passage symbolizes the purging, refining, and intense judgment that his ministry and the gospel bring, rather than immediate peace. Interpreted as purifying. No, let's get the Luke 12:49. His ministry and the gospel will bring refining judgment, intense spiritual transformation, and consequently division among people, forcing a choice between accepting or rejecting him. I want the already kindled. Let's look this up real quick. And let's see what the chat says real quick. All right. Fire here represents judgment, division, and the purging power of the truth. When the Lord came, he didn't come to bring peace to this wicked world system, but to ignite the truth that would expose and destroy it. Yes, the truth. Yes, it definitely, it starts with the truth. He sends out his prophets, and then the destruction comes. So, yeah, that's a kindling of the fire too. The truth is like under fire, like it tells you in Jeremiah 23 and 29. So I do agree with that 100%. That's why he sends his prophets out first to warn the nation of Israel to repent. Jeremiah 23 verse 29, is not my word like as a fire, saith the Lord Yahweh, and like a hammer that breaketh the rock in pieces? So it is like a fire. So the fire is already kindled by this word. But it's also symbolic of the different nations that are gonna, you already got them kicking off right now. World War III is already gonna be, we're gonna be well into World War III. He gonna meet him in the climax of it all. Imagine what kind of world we're gonna live in when the Lord returns. He's coming in the midst of it all. MOTB, World War III, Jacob's Trouble, all of it. And at the point where, the nukes are gonna be sent. That's the time he's coming. And through the Spirit, he's redeeming his elect from the four corners of the earth. All right. So that, every eye's gonna see him, and they're all gonna fight him, and they all gonna probably just try to shoot nukes on him, shoot everything they got at him, and it's all coming over here to Babylon. Probably all them drones, everything. They got a shit ton of drones and all that blow up and explode. That's adding to the fire. Then these different nations, everything's gonna accumulate to that great and dreadful day. The fire is primarily the word, truth that burns up lies, judgment that the Lord will ultimately bring upon the earth. So it's talking about both. Conflict caused by truth, because when truth comes out, it exposes wickedness, and that's what's going on. You're seeing a lot of things being exposed because the word's going out. It tells you in the book of Matthew 24, it says this gospel shall be preached. Matthew 24, and I think 14 or something like that. Yeah, Matthew 24, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then the end shall the end come. So this is the gospel that was going out, and that's why these Epstein files is just breaking the rock in pieces. Everything ain't working anymore because the word's going out. His counsel's failing, his health is failing. The curses are falling upon our enemies, like Deuteronomy 30 and 7 said it would. That's all because the word's going out. Deuteronomy 30 verse 7, and the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Okay, so some of those curses is, you're getting shot in the street, just like a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American. Even though there's some psyops, but it's still happening. Now they're going through police brutality. They're, back in the 80s, we were going through the crack pandemic or epidemic. Now you got a fentanyl epidemic. So all these curses are falling upon our enemies. All right. It says possess. I'm just calling them P. P said the Iranian interim leadership council approved the motion to stop at attacks on neighboring nations in remarks carried by Iranian media. The president also apologized to neighboring countries for the strikes that took place in recent days. So he's apologizing. Duck issued a maximalist position on Friday to Iran demanding unconditional surrender, but P balked at the comments. They're not going to surrender. That we surrender unconditionally is a dream that they must take with themselves to the grave. That we adhere to our international laws and humanitarian frameworks, he said. Iran's powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps also weighed in. Following the statements of the president, the armed forces once again declare that they respect the interests and national sovereignty of neighboring countries, and up to this point have committed no aggression against them, an IRGC statement carried by state media said. It sounds like they're being more diplomatic, more you know, politically sound, and we're led to believe this is a hostile government that's trying to kill everybody and funds war all over the world, you know. But I'm sure they do. I'm sure every government does that. Why wouldn't you? Especially in the Middle East. The East is a little different than the West. In order to survive over there, first of all, you got to be Muslim. Number two, you gotta have allies over there. It's a wild place, man. You know, and Iran only if you're against Babylon, you're a T. It's as simple as that. This word is the Lord's against Babylon. He's not for this wicked ass kingdom, man. He hates wickedness. So it's all hypocritical, is what I'm trying to say here. All this shit, who's the bad guy? It's all of you are bad. All you damn heathen. All right, that's why the Lord's coming to destroy you. All right, because in His eyes, all of you are wicked, even his saints. Well, you're not wicked. He knows, But let me grab this Job 15, and Job 15. I think it's towards the bottom. And where is it? Let me just grab a Control F. Job 15, verse 15. Behold, he putteth no trust in his saints. Yea, the heavens are not clean in his sight. So he don't even trust his saints. All right. The heavens are not clean in his sight. So the Lord is, he the way he looks at everybody else ain't the way that, people think, man. You would think his saints would be good. He's giving them the word. It don't work like that. Okay? If you ain't covered with the blood of the Lamb, man, and you don't know until you're on that chariot. That's why he tells you to do it with fear and trembling. You got to serve him with fear and trembling because you don't know. All right? But these other nations, you're nowhere near the nation of Israel. If you're nothing and he's treating us like shit, so it just goes to show you, can't no one be proud, and he hates pride, man. All right? There's no one that on the earth, whether you're Israel, even if you're the elect of Israel, you can't be proud. Okay? So, all these nations are wicked. And they're serving idols. So they're a bunch of abominations. However, should the previous hostile actions continue, all military bases and interests of criminal America and the fake Zionist regime on land, at sea, and in the air across the region will be considered primary targets and will come under the power and crushing strikes of the mighty armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So, he's calling them criminals. So he was just both. It's just rhetoric on both sides. Who knows what type of shit is going on in Babylon? P later clarified on X that Iran hadn't in fact attacked any of its neighbors, but rather targeted U.S. military bases, facilities, and installations in the region. So he ain't going after them. He's going specifically for Esau. Tehran's commitment to good relations with its neighbors, he said, does not negate Iran's inherent right to defend itself against military aggression by the U.S. and the Zionist regime. All right, so I'm not going to read it all, but it just goes to show you that, Second Ezra, the 15th chapter is speaking. Revelation 11 and 14 with the Third World War, Jeremiah 49 and 20, Joel 2 and 20. These are precepts that are speaking the most right now. Even Revelation the 13th chapter is kind of speaking because he's still riding that high horse. He's riding it all the way into the end, I see. Okay, Revelation 13 and 13, and he doth great wonders so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men. So he's still riding off the fact that he dropped bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, he's using tech, just old tech, man. I can just, not old tech, but he definitely got modern age tech. But his war plan is the same. You know, it's like a big dude. He's just gonna pound you. He's gonna give you all he got, and then if you can, once he gets tired and starts having to take a breath, that's when you can get him. It's like Ali beating up George Foreman. He took a beat down, but then he stayed in it the whole time, and he struck him when he was tired, and he won. And that's kind of like what's happening now. And he gonna be tired after you didn't get North Korea yet, and China and Russia. You didn't get all these other players, and then his European nations switching on him. He didn't get all of that yet. So he's saying, I can go a whole month with this crew. Well, what about Taiwan? They probably seeing how you're treating these other Arab nations. All right, you asking South Korea to take their THAAD system so you can go protect Israel. So how do you think South Korea feels about that? So there's a lot going on when it comes to prophecy. Liquidity squeezed. I found this on WYON News. Liquidity squeeze. BlackRock caps withdrawals from 26 billion HLEND fund amid investor anxiety. Let me read a little bit about this. BlackRock cap withdrawals. So if they cap withdrawals, you can only sell so many of their stocks. Private credit fund and after redemption requests surged to 9.3%, rising geopolitical tensions and weak U.S. data add pressure. So weak U.S. data, and they probably, it's harder to find news. When I'm looking at news on X and trying to find it on NBC and ABC, all these news outlets, they're not even reporting it. I'm finding all these weird news stations that are reporting on it, low-level news stations that you can't really trust because you never even heard of it. But that's the only ones reporting on it. So no one's going to believe that if it's not on Fox News, for example, or, something, CNN. It's not going to get any, you're not going to read it. Because you're gonna read, what? I never heard of this news thing, and you're gonna, and which is smart too. There's a lot of fake news that's out there. But at this point, man, you gotta know everything. Okay. You don't know what's fake. You don't know what's not fake. Ecclesiasticus 5 verse 15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. So you just got to constantly be watching. BlackRock Inc. have limited the withdrawal from 26 billion HPS corporate lending fund to 5% of its net assets. The gating mechanism was activated following a massive surge in redemption requests at 9.3% of their share. So you wanted 9.3% of your share, so everyone wants to get the max they can take out at one time. And he said, no, you can take 5%. Like, damn. So they do whatever the hell they want. They have complete control over your assets. That's not your money, man. As investors became increasingly wary, this is the first time in 4 years that the fund's redemption requests have exceeded the 5% limit, hinting at retail anxiety in the private credit industry. So there you go. Why would people want to take their money out of BlackRock? BlackRock pays a pretty high dividend. They rely on those dividends. They're like, fuck those dividends. We got to get the hell up out of this. And you're like, nah, you can only take 5%. And you'll be lucky if I give you any more after that. I think that's Zephaniah. I always get these two wrong. Zephaniah 1 and 10. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. How ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all their merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. So the Maktesh is the New York Stock Exchange, when so this is pretty much prophesying about a stock market crash. That's why I'm saying howl. The fish gate is where a lot of the trade was going on in Jerusalem. You bring your goats there, whether it be to exchange currencies. Let's look into that. As a matter of fact, let's look into the fish gate. Actually, let's just look at the precept. So if you don't know, now you know. Zephaniah 1. It's speaking about the day of the Lord, a time of judgment and destruction upon Jerusalem and the wicked. The fish gate was a gate in Jerusalem where fish merchants entered the city. The judgment would start affecting the city's commerce and inhabitants, bringing panic and cries. And that's exactly what's going on over here in Babylon. Okay. A howling from the city. It says the cry, Nehemiah 3 verse 3 mentions the fish gate being built in Jerusalem. The cry represents people wailing because destruction is hitting the city. And destruction, nothing's really happening in America, but I mean, there are some things that's happening in America, as a matter of fact, in today's news, but it's not like it's being attacked from a foreign country. They're doing all their attacking. But because how this plays a part with the Gulf of Hormuz the Strait of Hormuz and, other economic situations is causing fear. The howling from the second refers to second quarter of Jerusalem, a district of the city. The second book of Kings 22 and 14 mentions the prophetess Huldah dwelling in the second quarter, meaning the judgment spreads throughout the entire city. A great crashing from the hills. The hills represent areas of Jerusalem where houses and strongholds were located. The crashing symbolizes buildings collapsing and destruction from invasion or judgment. But in this case, it'd be talking about the stock market. Okay? You got the best way I heard it explained is you see how you got the ups and downs when you might look at a graph of a stock, or that's gonna crash. That's the crashing from the hills. Verse 11, Maktesh was a valley or marketplace district in Jerusalem, likely where merchants traded, and was the modern day type of, where do people trade? Nowadays we trade on our phones. We got more access to the stock market via the internet, but it's symbolic of New York. New York is the financial district of America. Okay. Meaning mortar, Maktesh means mortar or hollow place, like a depression or market district. Merchant people are cut down. This is showing that the economic class, traders, merchants, money handlers, would be destroyed or wiped out. So that's why they wanted to take their money out. Even though they agreed, when you buy these stocks, you sign all these terms, and most of the time you don't even know what the hell you're signing, but you're basically agreeing to shit like this. They have pretty much authority over your money, especially when you can't take it out when you need it the most at a drop of an instance, because depending on the time you're doing it, you're going to want to take your money out. When things are going good, you ain't thinking about taking your money out. You wait for something to go bad. And that's what's going on in the world. This war it's increasing. It's going on day 8. This ain't good for business. War is never good for business unless you're invested in, about shit that has to do with war. Just like Babylon in the last days, commerce collapses when judgment comes, and judgment's coming. They that bear silver are cut off. Bear silver refers to money handlers, financiers, and wealthy merchants, meaning their wealth will not save them from destruction. Right. Shit, these banks are closed too. Overall meaning, this prophecy shows judgment spreading through Jerusalem, hitting city gates and districts, panic everywhere. That's what we're starting to see, this panic everywhere. That's why people want to take their money out the stock market. That's why you see, stock market going down. Homes and strongholds, destruction. Markets and merchants, economic collapse. And that's what's going to happen. That's what they're howling about. It historically pointed to the destruction of Jerusalem, but prophetically it also parallels the future fall of Babylon the Great, where the commerce and wealth collapse suddenly. So that's why you don't want to have your mindset on these riches of Egypt, because they ain't going to profit you in these last days. Proverbs 11:4, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. So you want to make sure you being righteous to the best of your ability with the Lord. Duck grieves, this is from NBCPhiladelphia.com, grieves with families during the return of soldiers killed in the Middle East. The 6 members of the Army Reserve who were killed by a drone strike at a command center in Kuwait were all from 103rd Sustainment Command Base in Des Moines, Iowa. So they got destroyed by some Iranian drones, which are just like those Russian drones. Isaiah 13:17, behold, I'll stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. That's why the Iranians they ain't sitting down to discuss some type of plan to stop. They're saying, that rhetoric of we're ready for the boots on the ground. So he wants to continue and continue fighting. I'm actually watching the news on my TV, and it's showing in Boston they had protests to get the Shah of Iran up in there. Showing pictures like, yeah, that's gonna be best for them. Americans don't know what's best for nothing in the world. Only the Lord knows what's best for what's going on. That's why you can't listen to people. Isaiah 13:18, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. So their bows going into their missiles shall dash the young men to pieces. And that's what happened to these 6 military people. And there's 4 of them there. That's what happens in war. There's 2 other people. I don't know why they ain't shown. They ain't in here. Gas price map. See average gas prices county by county across Maryland. Oh, I don't care about Maryland. Damn. 3.5 in Maryland. That's probably a lot of money in that area. But it says a day before the attacks on Iran, Brent crude oil, the global benchmark for oil prices, closed at $72.48 per barrel on January 27th. Now it's somewhere between $92.40. On its way to $100. So your gas is increasing. Gas prices, and this is from Eyewitness 7 News, gas prices in Southern California could hit $5 a gallon this weekend. Expert predicts $8 a gallon by end of the year. So that's in Southern California, man. So they're going to get hit really hard over there. All right. It says gas prices in Southern Cal are continuing to climb, with one expert saying he thinks it's possible we could see $8 a gallon gasoline in Southern Cal by the end of the year, and not just because of the war in Iran. Prices at one gas station in Riverside were up 50 cents Monday. That's a lot, man. We're up probably like 2019, 29, about 34 cents. So you can't even complain, man. $8 a gallon is crazy. I know, but a lot of them over there got Tesla vehicles and shit, but not everybody. The price of oil has soared to more than $90 a barrel, and one expert says California gets 2/3 of its oil from foreign sources. 2/3 of its sources from foreign sources. So, why you ain't getting it from Texas? You're right. Texas has a lot of oil. Why you getting your oil from foreign sources? That shit don't make any sense. 2 weeks ago, you could have leased a tanker for $130,000 a day. That same tanker going for $400,000 a day, said Professor Mikhail Mish, USC Marshall School of Business, and this benefits Russia. They about to get a lot of money right now. Mish says it's not just the war in Iran to blame for the soaring prices, but various regulatory policies in California. Over the last 5 years, we've lost about 22% of an in-state gasoline production. Mish is predicting more than $8 a gallon for everyone in California. Recently, a top official at Chevron said that even more refineries could soon shut down. Even more refineries could soon shut down. That'll increase the price even more too. That's a shot across the bow. You lose those guys, you've now lost over 55% of production in California. Then what are you going to do, Mish said? Probably the biggest thing that's going to happen is inflation. We're going to see more inflation, and with inflation comes more volatility. It's just what's going to happen, says Sasha Kodomir, UBS Financial Service Inc. We were expecting 50,000 new jobs, but instead we got a negative 92,000 jobs. So that's not what we were expecting. And when you have this much global volatility combined with some bad number coming out for the U.S., it's going to definitely put some pressure on the markets, right? And that's, if no new jobs are being created, that's going to cause people to be more in an uproar because they ain't going to have any work. But he going to have work for you because he going to have you go to war. But you're going to be mad about not having a job, not being able to pay your bills, not being able to go to school and shit, like stupid shit. And all the jobs are going to be in the military. And once you get up in there, you ain't coming back. You're going to be destroyed. One gas station in downtown LA is already selling gas at $8.21 a gallon for regular gas. While not typical, the rise in gas prices are affecting even rideshare drivers, and a lot of us do that. It affects my job. The gas is very expensive. A lot of riders, they don't even tip anymore, said Dane Filipina, a rideshare driver. With the average gas prices of gas in Los Angeles tipping near $5 a gallon, rideshare driver Alejandro Moron says that any significant increase will strain his wallet. I see $6, $7 a gallon is going to hurt, but we don't know what's coming up, Morin said. The average price of gas in Southern California could hit $5 this weekend. That's crazy. So good luck paying your bills, good luck paying this and that. If you ain't got the Lord, man, you're going to be screwed out here. You might have to work longer days. That's exactly what you're going to do, but eventually it's going to get so tough, you're not going to, no matter hours you put in is going to sustain you. This place is going to be through. Revelation 6:6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So a wheat for a penny goes into a day's pay. Penny's talking about a denarian. So you talking about gas, what about bread? Don't forget about the bread. There's a famine coming too. So you got to be prepared for that.
Strong's G 1220. Denarian.
Denarian. A Roman silver coin in New Testament time, and took its name from it being equal to 10 asses, a number after 217 BC, increased to 60. All right. Said I disconnected for a second. Yep, a denarian. All right. So my YouTube stream health is excellent. All right, so just it's good to have your mind. All of it sucks, but the Lord gonna test out your faith to make sure you really trusting in Him. This is not a joke. All right, I should have started up a little bit more. Revelation 6 and verse number 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hands. So this word balances goes into the Greek word zygos. And zygos goes into slavery. Let me grab it. So that's the Lord pouring out his wrath. It's just coming, just slowly pouring it out.
Strong's G 2218, Zugas.
Zugas. A yoke that is put on drought cattle, metaphor used of any burden or bondage, as that of slavery. So it's slavery. In order to pay these bills, that's slavery. All right, that's what he's doing to you is just the modern way of him putting the yoke on his drought cattle. You're the beast, and he's your master. This is the book of Judith, chapter 5, and verse 11. Actually, let me start up. Judith. I've been thinking about Judith a lot, man. Judith, I don't know. I probably got to read about her again because a lot of things in her story is just like, it's really getting your mind prepared for, everything she did was just like, it just blows my mind. A woman taking a general's head off, first of all, bringing it back. Her faith was on a different type of level, man. And that's an elect lady, Even Esther, we should have been celebrating Purim. When Haman was plotting against killing the nation of Israel. This is when Amalek is celebrating Purim. So we gotta start celebrating our ancestors, man. Because we're not these heathen, man. These heathen, look at how they live. Look at these people, man. They're fucking pathetic. There's no way in hell with nothing like these people. They're disgusting. Judith 5 and 11. Actually, I wanted to start. Let's start up at 9. Then their God commanded them to depart from the place where they sojourned and to go into the land of Canaan, where they dwelt and were increased with gold and silver and with very much cattle. But when a famine covered all the land of Canaan, they went down into Egypt and sojourned there, while they were nourished and became there a great multitude, so that one could not number their nation. Now, this is Achior. I believe it is Achior. What is his name? He's basically explaining to Holofernes the history of Israel. He was telling them, listen, you don't want to fuck with these people, man. And this is a heathen that knows the whole history of Israel. That's what Judith, the 5th chapter, is going into. But I just wanted to just tap in. Judith 5 and 11. Therefore the king of Egypt rose up against them and dealt subtly with them and brought them low with laboring in brick and made them slaves. And that's what he's trying to do now. He's making you labor more brick, in order to do your work. You read Exodus, the 1st chapter. This is what he's basically explaining to Holofernes. Then they cried unto their God, and he smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues, so the Egyptians cast them out of their sight. And God dried the Red Sea before them, and brought them to Mount Sinai and Kadesh Barnea, and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness. So he's just explaining, but the point is, they brought us into slavery, and just like he's doing now. So you're not supposed to be surprised because we're in Egypt again. Exodus 1 verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them. Now it says that knew not Joseph because Joseph pretty much saved Egypt. He's the reason why Egypt even became anything. Through the famine, and he interpreted the vision of Pharaoh, and he pretty much, through the famine, he stored up a bunch of food and was able to have enough food to escape the famine. So I'm sure for a long time people loved Joseph, but then he died. All right, and then another king rose up who knew not Joseph, so he didn't know about the things that Joseph did for Egypt. Just like now, these motherfuckers don't think about what you did for America. All getting your back whooped, the bad treatment, all the no pay, no retirement. He worked you down to the bone gristle. He don't give a fuck about you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's why I say fuck this nigga, man. If you ain't serving the Lord, it don't matter. He's still gonna perish. It don't matter how you feel. It tells you in the book of Exodus, Romans, the 3rd chapter. Nobody cares if you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans don't believe. Romans 3:3. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? God forbid, yea, let God be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. Yeah, that you might be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. Let's see if you overcome the plagues. Exodus 1 verse 9, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Wherefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. Let's look at this word. Rigor. Extreme thoroughness, strict accuracy, and high precision in thought, research, and execution. It implies a meticulous, uncompromising, and systematic approach to avoid errors, often demanding high standards of academic, scientific, or professional context. So that's what he's doing now. Because in order to stay afloat with inflation, man, you're going to have to be a damn genius. Not even just a genius. It's no matter how much what the price is, you're not the rich elite. They're the ones that want to put so much hell on you that you bow the knee to them. Okay? And they're not doing it with a gun. They're doing it the way the Lord wants them to do it. Okay? Because this is not of their own. The way the Lord got it happening, he got Esau thinking this is his plan. This is all written through the Bible, but he thinks, that it's his plan, and it's not. This is why the Lord's showing you that these people are fools and they're children of base men. They really don't understand the scriptures. I think the elites do, but even then, the Lord did it where no matter what they do, you have to fulfill prophecy. It's a man's goings is of the Lord, and that's what he's showing us. Exodus 1 verse 14, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. So no matter if you're a Uber driver, you're gonna have to work your ass off, or whatever job it is. If you're a damn scientist, and that don't even matter because you're gonna switch the currency to be digital, and you're gonna have to take the chip. Okay. Exodus 1 verse 15, and the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. That's pretty much it. Okay, they made him make, where was the point? Verse 14. It just made your lives bitter, just with more brick. But there was another precept, thought. He had them go make their own mortar or something. But they made your lives bitter, man, through just putting you through hell. I'm done with that. Average prices, done with that. 12-year-old boy among 6 dead. NBC News as tornadoes rip across Michigan and Oklahoma. Lord's just fucking this place up, man. You know, we always have tornadoes, but it's going to be worse. You're going to start hearing about multiple tornadoes, 3, 4 tornadoes with an earthquake and something else, a flood with a tornado and an earthquake. Grounds are opening up. These are just all signs and wonders. Powerful storms that whipped up tornadoes killed 4 people in southern Michigan, including a 12-year-old boy, and 2 people in eastern Oklahoma on Friday, reducing homes to rubble and leaving a swath of damage. Whipped up tornadoes, this is plural. What would you do before enduring a tornado could mean the difference between life and death. I'm not reading all of that. All right. It says tornadoes. How many tornadoes? Let me ask Google. How many tornadoes ripped through Oklahoma today? At least 7. As of Saturday, March 7, 2026, the National Weather Service has reported at least 7 preliminary tornado tracks across eastern Oklahoma following a wave of severe storms that hit the region. So, sometimes they formulate and don't touch down, but you're going to start seeing 7 and 8, just like the hurricane season. There was multiple hurricanes. 2 of them were dancing last year and just dancing with each other. I've never seen anything like that. Let me grab this in the book of Nahum. Nahum chapter 1. In verse 3, the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, have his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. So he has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm. So he does all of that. Let's look at this word, whirlwind. So far.
Strong's H 5492. Sufa.
Sometimes you gotta have your own list. This is the ancient Hebrew alphabet. This is the modern Hebrew alphabet. This is what the small hat uses. This is what the actual 10 Commandments were written. It looks like an alien language, but that's Paleo Hebrew. This modern day Hebrew, Assyrian, Aramaic Hebrew. This is the Paleo Hebrew. Paleo, I believe, means pure or something like that. Let me double check. Or ancient. I think it means ancient. Older or ancient. Okay, so this is the ancient Hebrew. This is how we get the names of our God. Or you can go to the modern day text too, but you got to know the Paleo too. You got to go back to the Paleo. That's why some of the Hebrew word we use, it don't. You be like, what? Where do you get that from? Because we go, this is all through faith. We know Esau, he made all this shit up. This new Hebrew language, he just fucked it up even more, put more vowels in it. Damn vowels in Hebrew. And this is what he just, we actually didn't speak, we lost our language and everything, but, Esau is he just fucks everything up. He can't keep nothing pure. Where was I? Whirlwind, storm, wind, storm, Red Sea, tempest. Tempest goes in the storm. Tempest refers primarily to a violent, windy storm or tumultuous uproar, and that's what we're seeing. Isaiah 26. And what's the other precept I'm looking for? Is it 26? Isaiah 26. I can't think of the precept. As a matter of fact, let's go back to Nahum 1 and 3. It might be in there. Matter of fact, let me look at this in the NLT. Nahum 1 and 3 in the NLT. The Lord is slow to get angry, but his power is great, and he never lets the guilty go unpunished. He displays his power in the whirlwind and the storm. The billowing clouds are the dust beneath his feet, and that's how he displays his power. Let's go in here. Nahum 1 and 3, cross references. Thinking of something in Isaiah. I thought it was Isaiah 26. I can't find the precept I'm looking for. Let me go in here real quick. But he uses these different storms to it's definitely not Isaiah 26. I don't know what I'm talking about. I know it's in the book of Isaiah. Nahum. I don't got the precept. I lost it. As a matter of fact, Nahum 1 and 3. Just look at the whirlwind. It might be in the same precept that I'm looking for. Proverbs, Isaiah 29 and 6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest in the flame of a devouring fire. So storm and tempest, that's how he visits you. So the Lord literally come in a tornado to bring judgment. He just killed 6 people with the tornado. All right. Deadly tornado outbreaks rips through several states. So the Lord will get you with a tornado, man. And ultimately, that's a spirit. In Michigan, a 12-year-old boy died after succumbing to weather-related injuries. The boy's parents called 911 to report that they could not find their son as a tornado touched down in the area. And by the time first responders arrived, the parents were providing him with first aid. 3 people were killed and 12 were injured in the Union Lake area near Union City, Michigan, after an apparent tornado hit, according to the Branch County Sheriff's Office. About 50 miles southwest, Cass County officials reported 1 death and several injuries after a tornado touched down. That's the Lord. The Lord's going out here putting people to death. Isaiah 45 verse 7, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So he's going about, he's sending, let me grab this in 1 Kings. It's not him specifically coming down here getting his feet wet. He's sending these spirits. 1 Kings 22 and 20. And the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him, and prevail also, go forth and do so. Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. And long story short, let me jump down. Ahab gets put to death. 1 Kings 22 and 29. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and enter into the battle, but put thou on thy robes. And the king of Israel disguised himself and went into the battle. But the king of Syria commanded his 30 and 2 captains that had rule over his chariots, saying, fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king of Israel. So Jehoshaphat is the king of Judah, okay? And Ahab is the king of Israel. So Jehoshaphat is disguising himself, all right? So he's disguising himself in the battle, right? 1 Kings 22 and 32, and it came to pass when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat that they said, surely it is the king of Israel. So the king of Israel is Ahab, not Jehoshaphat. All right? Then this is important because it shows you the Lord's not dumb. Okay, you can disguise yourself. You can do whatever the hell you want. He knows it's you. All right? And it came to pass when the captains of the chariots, so this is the fighting armies, perceived that it was not the king of Israel. So now they perceive that that's not Ahab. So remember, the lying spirits they're going to be in the mouth of the prophets. They got Ahab to go to the battle at Ramoth Gilead to put him to death. So the Lord had a council in the heavens discussing how he's going to put people to death. So these little boys and people that get put to death, the same council happens with them. How are we going to put this little 12-year-old boy to death? And the spirit said, I'll be a tornado. He said, you know what? You go do that, and you're going to prosper. And he came down here, manipulated the elements, and put old boy to death. Okay? 1 Kings 22 and verse 34, and a certain man drew a bow at a venture and smote the king of Israel between the joints of the harness, which is Ahab. Wherefore he said unto the driver of his chariot, turn thine hand and carry me out of the host, for I am wounded. And the battle increased that day, and the king was stayed up in his chariot against the Syrians and died at even, and the blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. So someone drew a bow at a venture. Let's actually look this up real quick. Drew 1 Kings 22 and 34. Grab this in the NLT, 1 Kings 22 and 34. It says, an Aramean soldier, however, randomly shot an arrow at the Israelite troops and hit the king of Israel between the joints of his armor. So here it is, Jehoshaphat is disguised as the king of Israel. They notice, man, that's not him. And then some random soldier shoots an arrow into the Israelite troops, and it hits exactly who the Lord wants to die. So the Lord is showing you the reason why he has this written is for your learning. I'm the one who does all this. If an arrow gets shot somewhere, I'm going to make it land where I want it to go. You know, king of Israel, between the joints of his armor, turn the horses and get me out of here. Ahab groaned to the driver of his chariot, I'm badly wounded. And so the Lord set up all of it, the lying prophets, and it was all spiritual. It was all spiritual. Even though he's physically being put to death, it's all spiritual. The battle raged all that day, and the king remained propped up in his chariot facing the Arameans. The blood from his wound ran down to the floor of his chariot, and as evening arrived, he died. So this is what I'm saying, man. And the Lord's not a respecter of persons. I keep forgetting where that's at. The Lord is not a respecter of persons. KJV, you know, some people think Acts 10 and 30, Romans 2 and 11. I think that's where I normally go. Romans 2, I got to read this chapter again. For there is no respect of persons with God. Let's look this up. For there is no respect of persons with God. Within its context, this verse emphasizes that God's righteous judgment is impartial, treating all people equally, regardless of their background, ethnicity, social status, or whether they are Jew or Greek. It's everybody, man. It's everybody. Suspicious devices found near New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani's residence. This is on the independent.com. It says 2 people were arrested on Saturday after potential explosive devices were used during a protest outside the official residence of New York City Mamdani. The devices were found by New York City police officers during a scheduled anti-Islam demonstration near Gracie Mansion on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Counter-protester Emir Balat, 18, who joined about 125 people at a rival demonstration, allegedly lit and threw a device at the anti-Islam group, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch said at a press conference Saturday evening. So this nigga's 18 years old throwing bombs at people. So this is the last days, man. These psychopath Islamic motherfuckers, they gonna be putting shit to death, man. And these right-wing motherfuckers, too. They're going to be putting them to death, too. Okay? That's going into Isaiah. Two idolaters, what's the word I'm looking for? I forgot. Isaiah 19:2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So, as a matter of fact, I got a better article than that. I was reading this in a different. Did I drop it? I did. Yes. Did I? Yep. I dropped it. The device, which emitted smoke and flame, struck a barrier but did not explode and later extinguished. Balat then allegedly ran and got a second device from a 19-year-old accomplice, lit it, then dropped the object. Both individuals have been arrested. So they went to the protest with some type of device. You know, they probably didn't know what they were doing because clearly, but they had the motivation to do it. And where the fuck are they learning how to make these? You start looking shit up on how to make shit like this, the feds will get you. So if the feds ain't get them before then they didn't know. Alright. No injuries or property damage have been reported at this time, an NYPD spokesperson told The Independent. It's because of this nigga here, this nigga Jake Lang, a pardoned January 6th rioter, is known for supporting right-wing causes and eliciting violent counter-protests in his wake. He tried to, I think he went and grabbed a pig and brought it. He was trying to bring it to Mamdani's house. The crusade against the Islamification gathering held outside Gracie Mansion today by Jake Lang, a vile white supremacist. That is hilarious. A vile white supremacist was despicable. It's got to be left-wing propaganda. Was despicable and Islamophobic. Mayor, also, this is somebody's quote. Who said this? Mayoral Press Secretary Joe Calvello told The Independent in a statement. Thankfully, the mayor and the first lady are both safe, though the events are a stark reminder of the threats they both face regularly. And you got the New York hat. This dude's bugged the fuck out. This lady got a mask on. It's probably not even a lady. They got I forgot what you call this. He got a fitted hat on, do-rag on, and some Palestinian shit. He's out of his fucking mind. Out of his fucking mind, man. And he might not even be like super violent, but with all this propaganda, people get crazy over the internet. You don't know what type of propaganda he's into. That's why it's important that you stay into the scriptures. Lord will give you up to one of these spirits that are out here. Even the internet is not safe, man. You know, I don't use the internet for anything else but to filter through the scriptures. These are demons. I could tell you in the book of Acts chapter 19. Let me grab it. Acts 19 and 11, and God wrought special miracles by the hands of Paul, so that from his body were brought unto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the disease departed from them, and the evil spirits went out of them. Then certain of the vagabond Jews, exorcists, took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits, the name of the Lord Yahushua, saying, We adjure you by Yahushua, whom Paul preacheth. So these vagabond Jews, these traveling Jews who were exorcists, were trying to get these demons off of these people. And there were 7 sons, one Sceva, a Jew, and the chief of the priests, which did so. And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahushua I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye? And the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them and overcame them and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded. So this is where Esau be getting his exorcism movies from. You know, a lot of it's based. That's what our forefathers were doing, but it was in Hebrew. It wasn't exercising these spirits. And he said, Yahweh I know, and Paul I know. So these spirits know who are who through the spirit. That's why you ain't supposed to really be. These spirits just always been there. You know, they got their role to play, being demons, and you gotta just continue to be righteous. Ultimately, they just want you to be carnal. Because if they can get you carnal, then it's easier for you not to be blameless. You know, you gotta remain blameless. You gotta remain in the spirit. You know, a lot of these people, man, a lot of people are carnal. So you want to practice just being in the spirit, and the only way you can do that is if you constantly occupied in prophecy. Is this it for that? So long story short, these young 19 and 18-year-olds look like some type of IED and against Jake Lang, this piece of shit. But this is you know, the left side, you know, you got the damn Palestinians, and you got Antifa, and you got, you know, all this left wing shit. And then on the right side, you got the duck, and you got his followers, people like him. And he'll tell you he's a Christian. He brought a whole pig over to Ma'am Donnie's house. You know, you think he knows the scriptures? This nigga's he's an idiot. Leviticus 11:7, and the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch, are unclean to you. So he's breaking the law just by touching that piece of that shit. But he'd be the first to tell you he's Christian. He'll talk about Charlie Kirk, and Kirk wasn't telling you about these scriptures. They call him a saint. Come on, man. I'm going to read a little bit more. The crusade against Islamification gathering held outside Gracie Mansion today by Jake Lang, a vile white supremacist, was despicable. I read all that. It is unclear if the mayor or first lady were present at the mansion at the time of the protest. Ma'am Donnie, a Democrat, is the first Muslim to be elected mayor of New York, and he faced waves of Islamophobic rhetoric on the campaign trail. Tish said it was unclear if the devices were real. They are being analyzed by police. I'm thinking shits were just poorly made. Photos from the scene appeared to show one of the devices, a round object wrapped in metallic tape. It'd be funny if it was some bullshit, but in the times that are coming, all these sleeper cells, they're going to be training these people up. They're probably recruiting people like that, young, dumb motherfuckers. Do something like that. At the demonstration held on East End Avenue, just outside Gracie Mansion, a group of about 20 far-right supporters clashed with a contingent of counter protesters on Saturday afternoon. The latter group was present for an event that dubbed "Run the Nazis of the New York City / Stand Against Hate." See, calling them Nazis. It's funny that I ain't gonna read in all of this. I'll read a little bit more. In a statement on X, Lang claimed 2 men threw bombs at him in an assassination attempt. He shared footage of himself and his supporters running when one of the devices landed nearby. I am so grateful to be alive, Lang wrote in another post. He shared a photo appearing to show the second of the 2 devices This one wrapped in black tape with nail-like objects sticking out its side, so it sounded like a pipe bomb he tried to throw at him. Elsewhere during the demonstration, a far-right protester reportedly pepper sprayed members of the opposing group. 4 people got hit, at least, an eyewitness told AM New York that individual was also arrested, Tish said. So people throwing pipe bombs, people spraying pepper spray at each other. That's going into Isaiah 19 and 2. I thought this was about Mamdani. I thought they threw it at him, but nope. It was between protesters, and that's going to escalate. All of this stuff's going to escalate. Talking about, this dude's throwing hand gestures. Like, that's what he did today. Pete Hegseth. Just, there you go. Hail Hitler. It was the uproar from everybody. It's just bullshit. But I ain't surprised. That's Esau. Okay, this is from Support the Guardian. The Guardian.com. Duck convenes Shield of America's summit with 12 Latin American leaders. In Miami, President calls for regional cooperation to counter Chinese economic and political interests. So you want these Spanish-speaking countries to help him out. What does he have in this picture? I see the president of Honduras. I don't know all these people. I just know the president of Honduras. Let me see. The Shield of America Summit on 7 March 2026 in Doral, Florida. Front row, Kamala Prasad Basinia of Trinidad. That's her right here. And Tobago. Santiago Pena of Paraguay. There's Santiago. Luis Abinaber of the Dominican Republic. That's got to be him. Nayib Bukele of El Salvador. That's him. Donald Duck. Mohammed Ifeanyi Ali of Guyana. That's this. Of what? Of Guyana. And Rodrigo Chavez Robles of Costa Rica. And Daniel Noboa of Ecuador. That's these guys in the front. Back row, Rodrigo Paz Pereira of Bolivia, Javier Milei of Argentina, Jose Raul Molino of Honduras, and Jose Antonio of Chile. In the back, yeah, this is Argentina dude right here, so I know these two, but I don't remember their faces. He just paid him billions of dollars. He's sitting on a bunch of Bitcoin. That's the Shield of America. So let's see what this is talking about. Donald Duck changed the channel from Iran to the Western Hemisphere on Saturday, convening a gathering of Latin American leaders at his Miami area golf club to discuss regional interests in establishing what he called a counter-cartel coalition. Just as we formed a coalition to eradicate ISIS, we now need a coalition to eradicate the cartels. He told the 12 regional leaders gathered at what the White House called the Shield of America Summit. So he's using them the same way he's using the border peace to create chaos. All right, back in Revelation, the 6th chapter. Revelation 6 and 4, and they went out another horse that was red, and this red horse represents Esau, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. So that's what Esau's here to do. Take peace from the earth. And that's all he's going to do. And that they should kill one another. This is talking about civil, and actually not just Civil War, but the First World War. That's Esau on Esau. The Second World War, that's Esau on Esau. And Russia and America, more Esau on Esau. This is white on white crime. But what they do, as they're fighting, everybody in the middle has to pay, because these two are fighting over power. But the Lord's going to use this last war to get him up out of power. And there was given unto him a great sword, and that's his blessing in Genesis the 27th chapter. Genesis 27, I start at 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And he broke his yoke from off thy neck. When we fell, we used to rule over this nigga for years, destroying him, whipping his ass, putting garrisons. He's scared of King David. Esau don't want no smoke with King David, man. All right, King David used to fuck these Edomites up all through the Bible. You read, I'm not gonna grab him, but just destroying him. He was nothing in ancient times, and that's what the Lord's raised him. He about to be nothing again. Bombs thrown near him down. So it's just crazy. This is all happening today. It's craziness, man. I'm not even gonna play any of this. Oil and gas prices rise rapidly as Iran war escalates. Read that already. What's this? U.S. Israel strikes oil depots in Tehran. So they're striking oil depots in Tehran, so that's not good, man. It's just more oil prices going up, which increases the cost of your goods, cost to work more, work harder. But all of this is leading for you to take the MOTB, and I'm going to end it on this. Revelation 13, verse 16, yeah. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So this is, everybody's going to be forced to take this chip. Now let me look this up. RFID microchips in cats and dogs. RFID microchips in cats and dogs are small, grain of rice-sized, permanent, passive identification implants injected under the skin, usually between the shoulder blades. They are not GPS trackers. Rather, they store a unique ID number that, when scanned by vets or shelters, links to owner contact information, facilitating the reunion of lost pets. So if they put in this technology in dogs and cats, why the fuck would you take it? Hence why it's called the mark of the beast. And that's why y'all gonna take it. So when people say, oh, I don't know what it is, they literally put it in beasts. You know, so this is the big thing that people don't want to talk about. But, you know, if it wasn't for the apostles and elders on down, a lot of people would have thought this is nothing. You know, a little rice-sized device, that's what's going to cause me to sin against the Lord. I go to church all the time, and you know, I support science and technology. I'm all jabbed up, all my latest jab shots. This ain't the jab shot, all right? That's the last thing you want. But the jab shot was a precursor to this. This is what it's coming to. And this right here, you want to be ready to die before you take this. Revelation 13 and 17, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So you can't buy or sell, which means you can't pay your bills, you can't do nothing. So it don't matter how much you work, he's increasing all of this so you can give up and trust in him. The mark. Let's look at this word, mark. Charagma.
Strong's G 5480. Charagma.
All right, charagma. Thing carved, sculpture, graven work, mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. This is all bullshit. Okay, it's a carved mark. It's like when you carve into a sculpture. That's what Esau is about to do to you. Okay, going to the root word.
Strong's G 5482. Charax.
You're going to take the Karox, and it's a Palisade. A Palisade is the syringe he's gonna put it. Oh, it's not this Hyundai Palisade. This is what a Palisade is. It's like these stakes, but it's really a needle. When you look more into it, nigga made a car so he can make you think it's only talking about this car right here. Esau's the devil. Look at this luxurious vehicle. Yeah, you don't want to get the Palisade, man. So this is all going into the mark. But it's that fence that it just popped up real quick. Let me grab it. As a matter of fact. What is the meaning of palisade in the Bible? A type of strong defense barrier or fortification made of sharpened stakes or posts driven into the ground used to protect cities or camps from enemies. So, yeah, I'm trying to find a palisade. Is a needle. Palisade in medical context refers to a specific technique for arranging multiple radio frequency ablation. Let me see if I can get a picture. It goes into a fence, but let's see. I just defined it. Palisade as a fence. I'm trying to find it. These are sorry ass fences. You know, the old fences with the circular stakes that you put in the ground to start the fencing. That's what I'm looking for. But I can't. But this is the tool that's going to be used to implement the device. Oh, a rampart. That's a good way of a search rampart. I think that might be images. No, that's not. Looks like a parapet. That's not what I'm. It's a palisade. It says pales between which earth, stones, trees, and timbers are heaped and packed together. And then when you go on the root word again, it goes into stigma, or grapho, writing, describe, to write with reference to form of the letters. So that's how he's putting his word inside of you. It's like a left-hand side way of putting his digital epistle. Does it say epistle in here at all? To write to one, i.e. by writing in a written epistle. So just like these digital epistles, just like the word of God, he's putting that information inside of you, like the damn devil. But we're supposed to have the Lord's word inside of us, not the so-called white man's word. But that's how and you know, when you go into Karox again, Karagma, it says the mark branded upon horses, and the horse is a beast. You know, when they come and stamp you, burn you on the side, letting you know your ownership. You're owned by property of Esau. And that's what this whole thing is about, to show the Lord he don't belong to you, he's mine. He's my slave. Revelation 13 and 18, here is wisdom, let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 603, which is 666. Okay, and the name of the beast, which is 666, okay, or the number of his name, which is going into the universal product code, like when you scan a barcode. So that's what's going to be inside the chip. When you look at the barcode, that's the information. That's how he's going to put his name inside you. But on the right-hand side, we're going to have the wow. We're going to have the name of the Lord. Let me grab this in Revelation 14. In verse number 1, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their forehead. So that's why he wants to put it in your right hand or in your forehead. Let me grab this in the NLT, Revelation 14 and 1. Then I saw the lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him were 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. Okay, well, it's really in your mind. All right, we're going to know the name of the Father and the name of the Son. And that's a sign of you being sealed, because that's one aspect of it. But you got to endure unto the end. You got to suffer the afflictions. All of it's to build you up for that day, for that ultimate temptation, which is to take this chip. You know, a lot of people ain't thinking about this, but you gotta, the elect are gonna get this victory. Ain't gonna be no excuse about their family and their kids and their husbands and their wives, and they had to do it because they needed work. What else was I gonna do? There's gonna be so many excuses because those are the non-believers. You know, so you don't want to. First of all, Amos 3:3, can two walk together unless they be agreed? You know, that's why you don't want to be around unbelievers. They're gonna be taking away your faith. They're gonna want you to be occupied in the world, and you had to get the victory. Or the Lord can just put you to death. So you choose. I'm in the here, Lord's will. This is